Hello, welcome to the Pedestal Society. My name is Braille, and today we're going to talk about the way of self betrayal. I think this is around our seventh video in our Power of Self Mastery series. So, if you want to catch all of the videos, go to the playlist, click on the Power of Self Mastery, and it will carry you back to all of those videos. So, I'm going to wait a moment to get everybody in the room, and then we're going to get started today. We're going to talk about the way of self betrayal. Self betrayal is when you allow yourself to be manipulated out of your values and gaslighted out of your beliefs. Self betrayal goes a whole lot deeper than you can even imagine. Self betrayal can be, we can actually go to certain examples that seem like they're minute, like they're small, but it is still an example of self betrayal. Even down to the promises that you continue to break to yourself, that is an example of self betrayal. Let's say you want to lose that weight. Why have you been losing that weight? Let's say you want to level up and you want to become the best version of yourself. Why aren't you doing the work? You want to go back to school and get that education. Where's the education? Self betrayal is, you can see that in all areas of life. And if you have stood the test of time and did what was needed for it, because self betrayal has a trickle down effect. It has a trickle down effect because it affects your self concept, your self esteem, your self confidence, your self image. It affects the way that you perceive yourself. And this can have effect. This can affect the way that how you want to treat yourself and how you treat others. Hey, Tiana. So let's talk about the way of self betrayal and examples of it. And then we're going to talk about signs that you're suffering from self betrayal, because there are signals and signs that you have betrayed yourself to the point where you no longer have access to your intuition. You betrayed yourself to the point you're very indecisive. You betrayed yourself to the point that you don't know who you are. You betrayed yourself to the point that you're waiting input from others in order to move forward. So self betrayal is, it affects so many different things. And there is a, just like there's a trickle down effect, there's a trickle up effect. That means if you stop betraying yourself, you will increase your self esteem, your self confidence, your self image, your perspective. You will increase and you will become better. And you will have a connection of intuition, a knowing. This is the way that you can develop and into having or becoming the woman that you desire to be. I self betrayed right before this video by acting out of irritation, and my boss responded in irritation. Even the small things matter. I was annoyed at my boss, but I knew to control my emotions. It's on me. See, that's you know what? That's another thing that needs to be addressed when it comes to self betrayal, because since it's so, there's so many different things that can affect self betrayal and how it affects you. We don't even realize that self betrayal is another sign of self betrayal that's not talked about. And it is when you ignore reality, it's when you ignore excuses. See, the thing is, we have social media now. So many people are using social media or other avenues for escapism. So they ignore reality. And see, that's the thing that can happen to you or anyone else, is when they betray themselves to the level that they ignore reality. They don't see or acknowledge that they are not where they need to be, or they're not becoming as successful as they want to be, or they're not achieving the dreams that they wanted to as a little girl or a little boy, because of the fact that they're starting to ignore reality. And that's the reason why I say self betrayal has so many ramifications to your life when you continue to betray yourself over and over and over. And I've done that also. I've done it also. I'm not talking it from the perspective of a woman who hasn't done that also. I can go back to many examples in my life, especially I've talked about this example so many times when I was young and dumb and I was dating a guy that I shouldn't have been dating. And that was a betrayal on itself. Because when you continue to jump into toxic relationships knowing that he is a bad choice, that is self betrayal, because you're making a bad decision knowingly. So I made a bad decision knowingly that this person was not a good person. And I watched him talk about me like a dog. And I just sit here laughing like a loon, trying to ignore the reality, ignore what was right in front of me. This is self betrayal. So, of course, all it did was harm my self esteem and my self confidence. So, of course, I didn't see myself in a positive light. How can I see myself in a positive light if I am betraying myself and breaking the promise that I made to me. And see, the thing is, when people uh, are betraying themselves, they knowingly sometimes get in relationship with people who betray themselves. So it's an ongoing situation that happens because that person is breaking the promises they created for themselves. That person is doing things they shouldn't be doing. That person is betraying themselves. Do you think they're going to have any loyalty to you when they can't even keep the promises that they have to themselves? So that's another cycle that you have to get out of. And it helps once you start becoming self-aware and realizing this is what I'm doing. I am betraying myself every time I make bad decision knowingly. I am betraying myself every time I ignore reality. I am betraying myself every time I do things I don't want to do. Every time I say yes when I mean no. I am betraying myself when I'm breaking promises to myself of losing weight, leveling up, going to get an education, dating better quality men. But I keep going back and doing the same things over and over and over. That's betrayal. So of course I can't feel good about myself if I'm breaking promises that I've given to me because I come first. When you understand that you come first and you're valuable, you will stop breaking promises to yourself. You'll stop breaking yourself down on the inside. But shout out to Grace. Yes, facts. Breaking promises to yourself, saying yes when you don't want to say yes, being in situations that you know that's not gonna get you where you're trying to go or in a positive way that you're trying to make changes in your life and you continue to hang around people who are not trying to make changes in theirs, you're betraying yourself and you're betraying the promise that you made to yourself. You made plans, you have goals, but here you are hanging around people who have none. You are hanging around people who are breaking their promise every single day to themselves. But you want loyalty from people who are breaking themselves down and you're joining that party. So be very careful. Self betrayal has so many uh, factors to it, and it affects you in so many different ways. It affects how you're going to perceive yourself, how you're going to see yourself, how you're going to feel about yourself, how you're going to present yourself. If you're consistently, constantly betraying yourself in all areas of life, and you're not doing anything to move yourself forward. You're not doing anything to keep the promises that you've made to self. And keeping the promises that you make for self, they're more important than the promises you make to others. You're so eager to go out here and promise other people things and follow through. You're following through when someone else asks you to do something. You're following through when someone is counting on you. But when you're counting on you, that's when you're dropping the ball. And that's self-betrayal. And that's the reason why you don't feel good about yourself. That's the reason why you don't trust your own gut. That's the reason why you don't trust your own mind. Because of the fact you have betrayed yourself so long that you can't see yourself out or see your way out of it. And that's the reason why it's so important that we understand self-betrayal and the effects it has on us when we continue to betray ourselves instead of instead of following through the promises that we made to us. Like one of the things I live as a value is my word is my bond. That's the reason why I don't make promises, and I take my promises very, very strongly. Like I don't give a promise unless I'm there to follow through. But that's the first rule that I give to myself. I don't even make a promise to myself unless I know I'm going to follow through. If I am wanting to lose weight, I'm going to sit here and start the process to losing weight. I'm going to do things to make sure that I can be successful in that because I know this affects my self-esteem. The more that I continue to make a promise, I'm going to lose 10 pounds, I'm going to lose 15 pounds, I'm going to lose weight. And then I don't get on that journey and stay 10 toes down on that journey. And I can keep betraying myself on that journey. It's going to affect my self-esteem and how I see myself. Of course, I'm not going to feel good because the first promise I broke was to me. Self-betrayal is very harmful to women overall because the more that you betray yourself, the connection that you have with intuition and the divine is harder to hear. That's the reason why we have so many women that are coming out and saying, I don't know what intuition is. I can't really, I don't understand when you say you feel it in your gut. I don't understand when you say it was a download. I don't understand when you say it's an epiphany. Women legit are having this issue because it starts with betrayal. Because if you are not connected to you and the promises that you've given to you, you're not going to have that connection to your intuition and your gut. These are things that's inbuilt to you and given to you by God. But if you don't trust you, You're not going to trust your intuition or your gut. You're not going to trust the knowing that you have. You're going to absolutely deny that knowing, and you're going to be in the land of being indecisive. That's another sign of women who have constantly betrayed themselves. They become in this space of being very super indecisive, and they can only move forward unless someone else gives your opinion. They also lack the connection of intuition or being able to listen to themselves. They need more guidance, and they also tend to get into more toxic relationships because of the fact that they keep trying again and again and again to make something that isn't anything. And you will see that happen with women who betray themselves over and over and over. Reprogramming the brain is already hard. Betrayal is like trying to row a boat with the hole at the bottom. Yes, I love that analogy. That's perfect. That's perfect for betrayal. I am betraying myself every time I ignore it. Every time you wake up and you are participating in escapism and not looking at your reality for what it truly is, and you're not making any changes that's going to benefit you by following your dreams, your goals, your inspirations, you're not doing anything. You are betraying yourself because you're ignoring reality. When you were a little girl, maybe you didn't want you woke you had dreams, you had inspiration, you had things you wanted to do, and when you look at your reality, the current reality that you're looking at, it's nothing like what you dreamed about. And you haven't put anything together in order to move forward. You just keep uh, tapping into escapism and trying to get away from that reality and ignoring that it exists. This is a betrayal to self. Because every one of us have a blueprint. We also have a knowing into what we're meant to do in life. So if you have not done that work to connect with that, and you are ignoring your current reality, this is a sense of betrayal. And trust me, the body doesn't forget. The body doesn't forget the betrayal that you have placed upon it. The body doesn't forget the promises that you've given it. The mind holds you accountable to the broken promises. That's the reason why it's so important that self-awareness, and that's what this video is meant to do, is for women to become self-aware. Because once you become self-aware and you start paying attention and you start really looking deeper, then you can make these connections. You can start fixing what's broken. But you won't fix what's broken by ignoring reality, by ignoring what's in front of you. You will only continue to participate in escapism or participate into ignoring the current reality that you have created, but you can also undo every bit of success, abundance, love, happiness is in the palm of your hands. Every dream is in the palm of your hands. Everything that you want in life is right there in front of you. But you have to understand that betraying yourself consistently and knowingly, your mind and body never forgets. That's the reason why it's time to make changes. It's time to recognize where the betrayal is starting, even if it's something small. It could be something small. Maybe you had a promise to yourself that you were going to travel for the summer and you haven't went anywhere. You've been at home the whole summer. Maybe you had a promise to yourself you were going to lose weight. You ain't lost a pound. Maybe you had a promise to yourself you were going to date higher quality men. You still dating bums. Maybe you had a promise to yourself you were going to level up. You still look the same. You haven't done anything required to level up. Maybe you said you're going to get out here and meet new people, but you aren't. You aren't moving forward. Maybe you said that you was going to create boundaries so that you can have healthy relationships, but you don't even understand what a boundary is. As long as you continue on that path of self-betrayal, it's gonna be a path of you being or feeling like you're stuck, which is another sign of self-betrayal, by the way. When you feel like you're stuck and you don't have a way out, that's a sign of betrayal because of the fact that the mind and body never forgets. There's always a knowing, there's always a leaning, there's always a way out. But when there's a sense of being stuck, that is because you betrayed yourself to the point that you are not able to tap into that knowledge, into that knowing, into that blueprint to move forward. That's the reason why you feel stuck. That's the reason why you feel caged. That's the reason why you don't feel like there's no way out. You have betrayed yourself to the point that even if everything within you is yelling, screaming that go left, you're going to continue to stay still because you don't trust the go left. Because every time that you have made a decision or Every time you went or done the things that is being shouted at you, maybe it didn't go right. The thing is, if you want to get out of that state of self-betrayal, you need to start following those things and working it out instead of allowing yourself to stop beating yourself up when things don't work out. Because I've learned that even if things don't work out now, a lot of times they work out later. Sometimes I don't know why I need to go left. I just go left now because I know that even if in the beginning left may seem like the wrong answer, I will figure out later on it was the right direction. And so that's the reason it is important to follow and listen to that, to listen to you and stop listening to everybody else because everybody got their opinion, everybody gonna have something to say. Don't worry about what they have to say. And that's the reason why it's so important to not betray yourself. Because sometimes you get caught up in trying to make sure you don't make any mistakes or that you're going in the right direction, that you want other people's opinions. But then when you start taking other people's opinions over yours, you start valuing other people's opinions over your knowing. You start valuing other people's ideas and directions they're giving you more than your own. You're getting further down the hole of betraying yourself because you know better first. I've been saying it for a very long time. I tell all women that when I used to do a lot more one-on-ones, I would tell them all the time, I believe you first because you know better first. And this is way for them to start working their way out of self-betrayal because they've done it so long. They've participated in betraying themselves so long that they need so much guidance. My body would reject my ex. He would come closer and I would always move away. And I would have dreams to break up with him and did not listen. It was in a state of restlessness. Very true. Absolutely. You know first before anybody else does. You know that someone is not a good person before anybody else does. The thing is, you have quieted that voice within you so that you're listening to other people's voice. You're listening to other people's voices that you value because you don't value your own. You betrayed yourself to that level now. And so that's why it's so important that you become aware of self betrayal and the trickle down effect that it has when you continue to betray yourself and put yourself in situations where you're constantly saying yes when you really want to say no, where you're constantly not speaking up for your own emotional needs. So much bad advice is on social media, especially when it comes to women, and it can be easy to get not cost, get lost in that conversation and forget what compromise is. Because even when it comes to these conversations of compromise in relationships, the way it is being taught on social media is that it's sacrifice. Compromise is not sacrifice. A compromise is more about putting it on the table. When you go through life and you're not putting it on the table, you're not expressing yourself, you're not letting people know what you need, you're not getting your emotional needs met, you're betraying yourself. And that's the reason why you end up with people who betray you. Because if they're going to be betraying themselves, two people who betray themselves usually attract to each other. Self betrayal is, I think, one of the most important conversations in self mastery because it affects so many different areas of you. It will affect how you feel about yourself. That's the reason why self esteem was not great back then because I allowed people to come in my life and I was more worried about how they felt about me than I felt about me. I cared more about delivering my promises to them versus me delivering my promises to myself. So guess what I would do? I would change myself to fit in and to be a part of and not speak up. I always had strong beliefs and strong values, but a lot of times I would find myself being small in order to fit in that space. And I realized that's a betrayal of self. Every time you go into spaces and you're trying to make yourself small to fit into that space so that you can be accepted, this is betrayal because this tells you that your beliefs and your values are not good enough. Who you are as a woman is not good enough. So it affects your self esteem, it affects your self concept, it affects your self confidence, it affects your self image. It's a trickle down effect when you are in betraying of yourself or betrayal of yourself. Even being unbothered and cold. Mm. I think self-esteem is being taught as a feeling or fake it till you make it rather than working on betrayal of self. And yeah, I can agree with that. I agree. That is definitely been taught as a feeling instead of a there's so much layers to self-esteem and how that you can become that type of person who perceives and sees himself any specific way, which is important. Because if I see myself as though I'm unworthy and I'm not worth anything, that is how I'm going to present. That is what I'm going to represent. And that is what I'm energetically going to put out to the world. But if I see myself as I'm loving, caring, and if, to know me is worth it, and that I love myself, that is what I'm going to put out of the world. Those two things are two different energies. They're going to attract two different types of people. So when you are moving in a space where you're being inauthentic, because that's what it is. Let's call a spade with a spade, baby. Being inauthentic a lot of times is a person who's not showing up as themselves. So they're doing everything to be able to fit in. They're doing everything to change themselves to be liked or to be accepted. They're doing everything to keep their promises to others instead of themselves. So I agree. Self-esteem is definitely being taught as a feeling, and it's absolutely more than that. It affects how you see yourself and how you present yourself and the type of people you will attract in your life. When you have low self-esteem, you're going to have all kinds of issues. And since self-betrayal is the trickle down, you're going to also have issues with betraying yourself. You're not going to be honest with who you are and what you desire and what you want in this life. You're not going to be able to show up in the way that you desire to show up because you're going to be too busy betraying who you are as a woman. You all know how to say that as a woman gets older, she starts to get more loose of the lips and she starts to say whatever is on her mind. That happens when they start betraying themselves. That's what happens. It's not just a thing that comes with age. Because trust me, I know a lot of older women who are still in this space of trying to figure out how to uh, please everybody, trying to be likable to everybody, trying to give everything to everybody, and they still shortchange themselves. I know tons of women like that still. So that doesn't automatically come with age. What comes with it is when they start betraying themselves. Instead of them constantly, when they're asked where they want to go out to dinner, they say, I want to go out here. They don't wait for other people to give their opinion for where they want to go out. And then they align with it and say, oh, now I got to go eat at this place. They immediately, if someone asks them about their opinions, they give it in an honest manner because they understand constantly going along with other people's things or what other people want from them is just a betrayal. It's another act of betrayal, and the mind and the body doesn't forget. And since the mind and the body doesn't forget, you will feel the effects of betraying yourself over time. My mother always made sure she looked good. I grew up thinking that was self confidence, and then looked good and picked terrible men and people. And another thing of self betrayal, because the thing is, when you have evaluated and you understand what you value and you evaluated your goals and your personal beliefs, you have to be adamant about aligning with another person who is in agreement with that, who is a co-signer of that versus someone who's the opposite of that. It's a betrayal for you to constantly be with someone. Let's say, I like giving examples because it makes it more relatable. Let's say he doesn't value family. And I'm starting to realize, that is a thing. There's men out here who do not value family. So if that's a big thing to you, why would you go and get with a man who doesn't value family? That's the betrayal of self. Because you value family, you're gonna stand 10 toes down with your family. You're gonna be there to the day they lay you in the grave because you value family. You value being there for your family. You have strong family values and strong family connections. But here you are connecting with a man who would probably piss on his own mother, who talks badly about his family members, who's not there to be a present uncle or a present dad. But you are talking about you value family. This is an act of self betrayal because you are connected with that guy that doesn't value family. That's the reason why it's so important for you to evaluate what you value. So you don't go around betraying yourself by being with men or people who do not care about the things that you value. who don't acknowledge the things that you value. So it's important that, yes, and I'm glad you recognize it. Self confidence is a whole lot more than looks, right? It's a whole lot more than looks. Self-mastery is so important. I didn't know what my values were in the past. Yep. It's so important. So if I'm sitting here and say I value education, I value learning, I value knowledge, but then I'm not educating, I'm not learning anything, I'm not trying to be around knowledgeable people, then you're betraying yourself because you're not even aligning with your own values. Remember, self-betrayal is when you allow yourself to be manipulated out of your values and gaslighted out of your beliefs. And that is what, in a nutshell, what self betrayal looks like overall. So if you are evaluating your values or evaluating your beliefs or evaluating your dreams or inspirations, and you're out here dating or you're out here, looking to be friendly and make friends, then you should be looking at, am I going to be betraying myself being around this person? Is this person a slap in the face to the things that I believe in? Is this person going to uphold and acknowledge the things I believe in? Or is this a comedy? Is this a show? Because of the fact that I don't value myself so much that I'm willing to lower myself to be with someone who doesn't see the value in me. And that's a self betrayal, to be with someone who doesn't see the value in you. They don't see the value in you. They don't see what makes you great. They don't see being around you or being in a relationship with you is a good thing. And yet you're chasing them down. You're begging them to be around. Self betrayal. Self betrayal affects so many different areas in our life. And it affects how we see ourselves and how we feel about ourselves. You can always tell if a person is betraying themselves constantly over and over and over, where their self-esteem is at, where their self-confidence at, where their self-concept is, where their self-image is. You can tell by the betrayal. If you, my grandma used to say this all the time. If you listen to someone long enough, you'll learn everything you need to know. Just listen to someone long enough, you'll learn everything you need to know. And you'll be able to spot the self-betrayal very quickly because it's not something that they're hiding. It's not something that is not easy to spot. Maybe on this video, you just became aware that maybe you have been betraying yourself in certain areas of life. Here's areas of opportunity for you to be able to move forward, and you're self-aware of it. Now that you understand that a promise is as a promise does, and promises are so important. The more promises that you make to yourself, they're more important than the promises you make to others. Because the promises you make to others, a lot of times that is because you want to be known as someone who keeps their promises. The promises that you make to yourself, they're more important because they affect how you see you. You will see yourself as a better person. You will see yourself as a person who can achieve anything. You will see yourself becoming the best version of woman. You will see yourself the more that you keep your promises to you, the more that you set on just keeping promises to other people and focusing on their needs and being a people pleaser and having sex with men that don't deserve it, because that's a self betrayal, baby. When you're having sex with a man just to keep him, that's self betrayal because it already shows that you really have not established the rules and the rules of access to your body, and you're doing these things just because you want to keep him or because you think he's going to be disappointed or because everybody is doing it. It is self betrayal. See, the thing is, I have strong values, and I've always had some strong values about sex and men. And one of those values is I don't sleep with a man who I don't have a relationship with. I don't believe in sleeping around. And so if I was to go out here and ignore that value and break that promise that I have myself, it will affect how I see myself. Maybe I won't see myself as the upstanding woman that I want to be or am. I will start to see myself in a harsher light just because of the fact that I broke the promise, the value that I have for me, the values that I have established that I'm going to live by. These are things I decide I'm going to live by. And if I go around just constantly breaking them and doing things that don't align with the values and the promises I made with me, then I will start to see myself in a harsher light. Then I will start to look down upon myself versus look up. I've been practicing active listening, and few, it just comes out. Absolutely. And so this whole thing in society that they have, oh, it's no big deal. It's just sex. If that's something that is for you, it is for you. But you can't go out here in this world and break the things that you value, the things that you believe in, and think you're not betraying yourself every single moment and every single day. You cannot continue to put yourself in situations or have different experiences that you don't want to be in, that you've decided that you will no longer be a part of. And you continue to get on that hamster wheel and do it over and over and over. You're betraying yourself. So the first thing that you have to look at is the promises that you make to yourself. Don't make a promise that you're not willing to keep. Just like the promise that you stand on when it comes to your friends and your family and your loved ones, when you don't make them promises unless you're going to stand on it, don't make yourself promises unless you're going to stand on it. The values that you say you believe, walk that talk like you talk about it. Walk it like you talk it. Instead of sitting here out here saying one thing's out your lips and doing another. The more that you say things out your lips that is not true or that you're not going to follow through on, is self-betrayal, because the mind and the body doesn't forget, and it will affect you on in the long run. Maybe at the moment you feel comfortable because you've been accepted, you're in this new crowd and you're being liked, and everybody, you feel like you're getting the thing that you want at the moment. But later on down the road, when you start to evaluate who you are and who you're becoming, that is where it's going to show the betrayal. That is where you're going to show the effects of you betraying yourself. This is why I'm practicing abstinence. I don't care what everybody else is doing. I know if I betray myself and make another usage so tired, I would betray myself. Absolutely. Stand on it. And that's why it's so important. If you make a promise to yourself, keep it. If you have something you truly value or beliefs that you live under, walk that walk as you talk it. Because that is important to self-betrayal. That is important to not betraying yourself when you make that type of decision. I have, I have strong values. I have strong beliefs. And one of the things I've learned over the years is that I have to follow through. The more that I don't follow through, the harsher I will look on myself, the harsher I will see myself. And your self image is important because that is how you see you. That is how people, a lot of times when they have betrayed themselves so long, they do not see themselves in the way that other people see them. You might see a woman who's like caring, loving, easygoing, intelligent, knowledgeable. But since they've betrayed themselves so long, they don't even see themselves in that light. They don't even see themselves in a positive light just because of the betrayal that they have put on themselves over time. They've broken everything that it meant for them to be woman. That's the reason why this conversation of self mastery and womanhood is so important. Knowing who you are as a woman, knowing who you stand and what you stand for as a woman is important to keeping yourself from betrayal. Because you're betraying, if you betray yourself, the effects of betrayal has long lasting effects. I truly believe that the betrayal is the reason why a lot of women don't see what I see when I have conversations on one-on-ones. They don't see what I see. You know why they don't see what I see? Because they spent their entire lives betraying themselves. And since they spent their entire lives betraying themselves, they see themselves in a harsher light. Another thing that happen is self-compassion is reduced. So they don't have compassion for themselves, but they have compassion for others. They have compassion for other people and their mistakes, but don't have any for themselves. See, self betrayal trickle down and it affects self concept, self image, self compassion, self confidence, self esteem. All things of self become affected because of the betrayal that has been put on you or betrayal that you have done to yourself by constantly going through life making promises to others, but not keeping promises to yourself, people pleasing and trying to do things to be accepted in life, having sex or relationship with men that you know are bad decisions or toxic, Because when you make a bad decision knowingly, that's betrayal. Because you already have what you need to know to make a good decision, but you decide or chose the bad decision. Breaking promises to losing weight, leveling up, going to school, making new friends, traveling, dating high quality men, all these promises that you've made over the years and you haven't followed through, or you haven't done what's needed to stand on business, or create that foundation so you can move forward. It's self-betrayal. Constantly ignoring reality for what it truly is. Knowing that you have not done the work in order to become the best version of yourself or to have the life that you desire is a betrayal in itself, because you already know that you have everything that's needed to have the things that you want in life. But you betrayed yourself by making or knowingly making bad decisions over and over and over. Self betrayal builds resentment. It does. It does. Increases being harsh on self. Absolutely. It makes you feel like crap because you've broken so many promises to yourself that you're so harsh. You don't have any self compassion. You're so stuck. You feel like you can't go anywhere or make any decisions, or everything you do or every decision you make is the wrong decision. Yes, a woman needs to be self aware. That doesn't mean being perfect, but you can clock the nonsense early. Absolutely. Like, I'm not going to ever advocate for being perfect. Perfection does not exist. I don't believe in trying to be perfect. I just try to do and be the best that I can every single day. And that's the only thing I'm calling for in these conversations of self mastery and bringing in the conversation of betrayal. I just want women to know that it affects you when you constantly go about betraying yourself and making bad decisions knowingly, dating men that you know do not qualify. You know he don't qualify. You know you have so much going on in your life, but here you are with the bum. You already know that you're with someone who doesn't even value you or your values, and you allow yourself to be manipulated out of them. There's there's a whole conversation that can be had of so many women who value their bodies and they were manipulated out of it by having sex too soon. And I'm not putting the blame solely on that guy. I'm just saying that without the self awareness and understanding and mastering and empowerment of self, betrayal is easy to do, not knowingly. And that's the reason why we're having this conversation, because I want women to know that it doesn't seem like a big thing, but it is. It is a big thing. The more that you betray yourself, even down to something you value, even down to you sacrificing and you call it compromise, even down to you not speaking up for the things that you want, even down to your emotional needs not being met, but you staying in a relationship that isn't going to do it, even down to you breaking the promise that you have for yourself to level up and become the best version of woman when you have all the tools, but you haven't picked up any of the toolbox. You haven't done anything that's required, but you keep betraying yourself. It has long standing effects of how you're going to see yourself, how you're going to feel about yourself, how you're going to present yourself. And this can lead to you having that disconnection that a lot of women have today, where they don't have that connection with intuition, that gut, that knowing that is a blessing, is a gift from God for you to have that knowing, that connection to the spiritual, where you can't even hear that voice inside of you to go right or go left. But self betrayal and getting out of it, if you want to start getting out of betraying yourself daily, then it's time to start with the small things. It's time to start with the promise that you make yourself. Now, going forward, don't go forward without evaluating the promises and being very careful about the promises that you make to you. And you promised yourself in the year of 2024 that you were going to start a business, baby, you better go ahead and start breaking out the books and figuring out how to get it started, because that promise is standing. And like I said, the mind and the body doesn't forget. It doesn't forget that you reneged on the promise that you gave to it. It doesn't forget that you're not following through. So if in 2024 you say you're gonna lose 10 pounds, I suggest you get on it. I suggest you start bicycling, walking, eating healthy, and start following through that promise. And I guarantee you're gonna start to see a shift. You're gonna start to see a shift in how you feel about yourself. You're actually gonna start to feel a whole lot better. You're gonna start to see yourself in a way of becoming the better version of woman that you want to become. Instead of feeling like you're failing. The reason why you feel like you're failing is because those small promises that you keep making yourself and you're making the same ones every single year and you're not following through. That's the reason why you feel like you're failing. That's the reason why you feel like you're stuck. That's the reason why you feel like you're not going anywhere in life because you're not keeping the small promises because your mind and body recognize if she can't keep the small promises, she ain't gonna keep the big promises. So your mind and body is not even in alignment with the things you're trying to accomplish in life. It's actually literally just fighting you because of the fact that you're not keeping those small promises. So wherever it is, maybe you said you're gonna speak up and you're gonna be a little loud, a little proud, and you're gonna let go of this mentality that a woman has to be meek and quiet and accepting of everything. Now you're gonna speak up for the things that you desire, or you're gonna speak up your opinions, then you need to get on it. Because the more that you sit here and sacrifice that, the more that you betray yourself and you don't go and follow that through, the mind and body never forgets. And since the mind and body never forgets, you continue to have that long-standing effects of betrayal. And it's affecting the way that you're moving forward in life. Lose blessings that are not prepared for. Yes. But self-betrayal. You out here agreeing to things you don't want to do. Saying yes when you mean no. Staying late at work when you don't want to. Doing things for friends and family when you don't want to do it. Stop doing that because the body and mind never forgets that you don't want to do it, that you don't want to do the things you're doing, but you're doing them anyway. It's a betrayal of self with long standing effects. This is the reason why you're in a place where you feel like everything that you're trying to accomplish is very insignificant, that you're feeling stuck, you're feeling indecisive because of the fact these things create a disconnection. When you constantly betray yourself, you create a disconnection within yourself, and it is felt. This is the reason why we have so many women talking about they don't understand or know what intuition is. Even before I knew the word intuition, I always heard about that gut feeling. You know, I was taught about the gut feeling that you would have when something's right or wrong. And now, doing this work, I realize a lot of women are saying they don't have that gut feeling. They don't have those downloads or those epiphany, those moments of knowing. And that is because they have betrayed themselves so much that the mind and body has not forgotten that you don't trust it, that you don't trust what you are, who you are. You're much more powerful than you think. And the mind and body is there to assist you in becoming empowered and mastered. Gut feeling saved me so many times. Man, every time I get on these videos, I always talk about the fact my gut feeling. I was dating a guy that if it wasn't for my gut feeling, I could have found myself in a serious situation because he checked everything off. He was like the perfect candidate to be a husband. Very successful, you know, spiritual, into very friendly, very caring, big family. Because I'm a big family person. I really value family. I didn't want someone who wanted to be my family but not accept my family. And so he gave all of that, but I kept feeling like something was wrong. My gut kept saying he's wrong. Don't ever be alone with him. And I'm glad I never was because he got caught for rape on a woman. But my gut is what saved me because I listened to my gut. I've always been taught to listen to my gut. Even if I didn't know the word intuition, and I learned it later on, that's what that was. Um, when you don't have that connection with self and you lose that connection to your intuition, you will make more mistakes or do things that's not in alignment with your blueprint and where you're supposed to go as a woman. You have something special within you that's a guiding system to making good decisions and going in the right direction. But when you have betrayed yourself, the mind and the body doesn't forget. So it starts to mute and you start to not hear or feel that feeling in your gut or that knowing or receive the downloads or those epiphany moments. you start to feel them, not because they're not happening, because they are. I've noticed that, working with women, and once they start to establish and stop betraying themselves and they start speaking up for themselves, they stop sacrificing, which they think is compromise. They start they start following through with the promises they give themselves. Then they start have that connection with intuition, and they start. I would get like emails or DMs and be like, "I finally know what an epiphany is. I finally had one," and I was like, "Congratulations," because that's what happens when you start to honor your promises that you make to yourself. You will start to reconnect and have those connections again. But when you betray them, you will start losing connection with that, and you may not have the epiphany, you may not have that knowing in your gut, not like I said, not that it's not happening, you may not acknowledge it or feel it. I noticed in the past I was seeing too much of I knew I should have did. When I start listening to self, life gets so much easier. It gets so much easier and so much better, and you start feeling so much better about yourself when you stop betraying who you are. And I really believe that in the time that we currently live in, we need women who don't break the promises they have to themselves. We need women to stop sacrificing themselves in order to please others. We need women who willing to speak up and verbally give their opinion. We need women who can acknowledge the promises they give themselves so they can teach their little girls to do the same. So we're in that crossroad that we need women to do these things so that we can beget stronger and beautiful young women that's going to go before us and create a better future. But if you're constantly always trying to dismiss yourself and make yourself small in order to fit into wherever you're trying to fit into, maybe you're trying to fit into a work group, a friend group, or you're just trying to fit into a clique. Every time you're doing that, you're betraying yourself because it leads to you being inauthentic. That's what it does. The more that you do that and you betray yourself, the more that you become inauthentic. The more that you start showing up in a way that you do is not an honest way. You start lying to yourself and lying to others. So everything self-betrayal has a ripple effect. You will find people who betray themselves the most cannot be loyal to you. On social media and TV, they show us women betraying themselves all the time. We have to be examples. It's so important. It is so important. It is so important because little eyes are watching. Little eyes are watching you betray yourself. Go back on your promises. Go back on your values. Go back on your beliefs. Little eyes are watching you do this, and they're looking at you as an example. And so they see mommy constantly getting back and forth with this toxic relationship and constantly going back at the things she values. You teaching her that she has to be with a good man that's going to take care of her, that's going to love her and respect her. But then you keep jumping into that relationship that's not giving you that back. This is very confusing. And instead of them taking in the advice that you're giving, they're going to take in the example that you're giving. That is the way it works. That's the reason why it's so important that you and every woman that sign my voice, you get this down. So if you are, if or have a little girl or going to have a little girl in the future, then you can be the example because that example is important. The more that you see women betray themselves and dismiss themselves and make themselves small, and you see women breaking up their own promises to themselves, this has an impact on the little eyes that are watching you. I watched and created her reality. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the reason why it's so important to not betray yourself because then you can become and make sure this absolutely helps you to be aware of your current reality. Because what happens, another side effect of betrayal is that you can get to a place where you're ignoring reality. You haven't done the things that you want to do or accomplished the things that you desire to do, but you're ignoring your current reality and what's right in front of you. It's a betrayal because you sat down at one point and you wanted this, and that. You wanted to go and get a degree, or you want to get married, or you wanted to be successful, or you want to start a business. You have all these dreams and inspirations that you want to do, but the current reality that's in front of you does not match any of those things. And the more promises that you continue to break to you, and I'm not caring about the promises you make to break to others. I'm not worried about that because usually if you're gonna learn in this journey that you won't even give a promise to others because you take promises so seriously. You take the promise that you give to yourself so seriously that you won't give a promise out to other people anyway, unless you're gonna follow through. Some people betray themselves due to peer pressure or societal expectations, which can be hard to separate from the tribe. I agree. I've been there. I did that myself too because I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be liked. I wanted to be a part of the tribe. And with women, they have a thing about community. Women desire community. They want community. A lot of times we don't understand that instead of desiring community, it's best to build community. Build the community that you desire instead of trying to be a part of the community that may not fit for you. And betrayal, when you have certain societal expectations that you have to do certain things or have to accomplish by age, or how they're pushing currently that you have to have babies by a certain age. That's a societal expectation. But if that is not in alignment in your blueprint and where you're supposed to go in life, then you should not be as concerned about it. You have to break away from the tribe. You have to break away from everybody's expectations of you. Because the more that you do these things and it's a betrayal, the worse you will feel about you, the worse you will see yourself. And when a person sees himself, they grade themselves harshly and they treat themselves harshly too. It's almost like what happens when a person betrays himself, they begin to beat up on themselves. You don't even have to get hit by somebody else. You'll be doing the hitting. You'll be doing 1,000 cuts. And that's the reason why to understand that you don't have to live by societal expectations or be a part of a specific community. You can build your own. You have to become self-aware to not betray yourself. And that's the reason why self-mastery, we always go back to self-mastery. That's the reason why the series that I'm doing, and I think this is like the seventh video of self-mastery, the power of self-mastery, and why self-mastery is so important because then the community and the tribe is no longer important because you are more important than the community or the tribe. Accepting yourself is more important than their acceptance. But that comes with self-mastery. Literally, a sinking ship, ignoring reality, and no self-compassion is such a deadly combo. It is. When I tell you, when I was there and I was in that space, I was literally allowing people to talk to me crazy, mistreat me, abuse me, disrespect me. And I would, instead of me looking at them like they're the issue, I would look at myself like I'm the issue. I would be like, why couldn't I have said this better? Why couldn't I have done this a different way? I will always look at myself as though I am the problem. When you betray yourself, like betrayal is a 1,000 cuts and you're doing the cutting. And since I was doing the cutting, I would be very harsh to myself. And I always look at it as though I am the problem. Never looking at the things that person said was very disrespectful. Why would they say that? And maybe I shouldn't be hanging around them. Maybe they aren't a friend in the way that I thought they were a friend. Maybe they don't care about me in the way that I think they care about me. I never thought about it in that way. When you betray yourself, and like I said, betrayal, self-betrayal is like 1,000 cuts. You just start to, pull yourself apart, and you have less self-compassion for you. What are examples going inward? Going inward, going inward is focusing more in on you. Going inward, it depends. Are we talking about practices or are we talking about examples of how to go inward? Like clarify exactly what you're looking for as far as going inward. I want to make sure that I'm answering the question in the way that's going to be helpful. Hey, baby. Will you keep this series on your channel for the public for a little while? It's going to be up probably a week after that I complete the series. We're on our seventh video. So it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while. It's not going to be here permanently. It will go back into membership eventually because there's a lot of videos. I have a lot of videos planned for this series. I'm not done yet. So give me an example exactly what you're looking for as far as anywhere. Examples relating to putting yourself first. Okay. First of all, putting yourself first needs to become a practice. It needs to be something that you do in everyday life. If you know that someone suggested that they wanted to go to a Chinese restaurant, and you know you don't like Chinese food, then it's a good idea to say, "Hey, I don't like Chinese food. That's not something I would care to do." Maybe we can compromise. Compromise does not mean sacrifice, because a lot of women think it does. A lot of women think compromise means I sacrifice what I want and do what the other person wants. No, compromise means I'm going to put everything on the table and say, hey, I don't like Chinese food, but you know what? There is a restaurant down the street. It caters to Chinese food and steak. Or it's a what's the thing? I can't remember what's the name, the word they use for when they have like two different cultures at one restaurant. But it's that type of restaurant, and we go there to eat. You can get what you want, and I get what I want. That's you speaking up for yourself. Or maybe instead of you constantly waiting for someone else to suggest something, and you have a suggestion. It came to you as soon as they asked the question. They want to suggest about videos. Maybe when y'all were going to the movies, you had a suggestion. You saw a trailer for a certain video. Instead of you saying, hey, you know, there's a good video, we can go see that. I saw it. It looks pretty good. The trailer looks good. No, what do? You wait until the other person suggests something, and then you might go along to go and see that video when it wasn't the video that you wanted to do. You got to start putting yourself first, even in small ways. And when you start to build yourself up in small ways, you start to put yourself first overall. Speaking up for yourself, giving opinion, um, not allowing yourself to continue making bad decisions knowingly. You already know that that person doesn't hold the values that you hold. So why are you with them? Put yourself first. Like, yes, maybe that person was very nice. Maybe it was a good first date, but they don't value marriage. But you want to be married. Why are you going on a second date with them? Put yourself first. I'm deeply feminine, and notice I actually go into mother mode and drop into my masculine with my female friends, leaving the relationship only one reaching out, making plans, working on changing. I view that as a form of self sabotage because over time it hasn't felt good to be leading that role 100% of the time. Okay. So since you knowingly know this, allow another person to make the suggestion. Like let them make the suggestion. Let them suggest and let somebody step up to the plate. Because I think that when we've gotten in the habit of being great leaders, you know, we have that skill of being a great leader. We can sometimes, you know, step up and make decisions and move forward. But if we want to kind of relax and we don't want to always be that person, then you're going to have to let other people lead. Let them decide to make suggestions or step up first so that you can step back. If that is something that you're starting to realize is important to you, then don't ignore it because it is a form of not only self sabotage, but it's also a form of self betrayal because this is coming up for a reason for you that you always have to make the decision. You always have to step up. You always have to lead in a way that you don't desire to. So when you're with them, you don't get to be your authentic self. So even when you're with them, you're not being the person that you want to be. So instead of betraying yourself by doing something or being something that you don't want to be, let your friends step up. Let them make decisions and suggestions instead of you doing it. And I kind of understand and kind of relate to this because of the fact that I'm the oldest of five. And instead of me just being, I don't have a sister relationship with my siblings. I have more of a mother relationship because I am the one who stood in that role for a very long time. Before I had kids, I had my siblings. You see what I'm saying? So I understand where when I'm with them, I used to kind of step up and make decisions and lead. And they would look to me to lead and look for me to make suggestions, look for me to for my advice. And as they got older, I realized that that was going to harm my relationship with my siblings. Instead of me being a mother figure, I have to step back and be a sister. Now I've perfected stepping back and being a sister. Now, do I kind of get a little aggy when I realize they're making bad decisions and they're getting themselves in trouble? I do. because I've had that. I was in the mother role for so many years. But I understand that they have to go forth and make their own decisions so they can become the men and women that they want to become. And it is hard in the very beginning because you're so used to doing something. Like I said, the mind and body never forgets the choices and decisions that we make. So it's going to feel awkward to step back and let somebody else step up. But you can do it. I've done it and had to do it because it was much needed. Now I get to be in more of a sister role. Now I just, my sister calls me more. Before, when I was in the other role of the mother, she kind of didn't call me as much because she thought she was going to get a lecture. And she did. Okay. Because I know she can do better. And I would lecture her. But lecturing her and being her mother in that mother role is not going to help me to cultivate the sister role and this being a sibling or being a good sister to her. So I knew it's time. So I stepped back, I became a sister, and I let go of the mother. Very relatable. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. But it is so important that we realize that the small promises that you break to yourself that you think doesn't matter, it matters. The mind and body never forgets. And the more that you continue to break these small promises that you think that don't matter, the more that you continue to be harsher, have less self-compassion, see yourself in a way that is not benefiting you. It affects your self-esteem and your self-confidence. So then you harm yourself overall because you start to pull back from living your life in the way that you want to live it. You stop living out loud and start making yourself small. These are the consequences of self-betrayal. It has an effect on you. Okay, I just want to make sure that wasn't to me. I'm so glad y'all are talking to each other. But the more that you betray yourself, the less you will hear that inner voice. The less that you will be you won't be as intuitive. You won't have those downloads or those moments of epiphany. Not that they aren't happening, they're happening in the background. You won't acknowledge them because of the fact, like I said, the mind and body always remembers, but there's a disconnect there. And so if you that's not something you want to have or do for your life, you want to feel compassion for yourself. You want to see yourself in a great light and stop being so harsh with yourself. You want to achieve and do the things that you've already always dreamed of or become inspired to do. Then you have to stop the betrayal. You have to stop the thousand cuts that you're giving yourself by betraying yourself and the things, people, beliefs, and values, the things that you stand on as a woman. You have to acknowledge it and you have to walk it like you talk it. You can no longer operate in this world by just trying to fit in. Because fitting in is slowly hurting you overall. Or just trying to fit in or trying to do things to fit in. It's hurting you overall. All right. So if there's any other questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. If we already been here for an hour, so we're gonna get ready to wrap the video up. I appreciate you ladies for being here all the way, to the end. I appreciate you so much. I believe betrayal was a big component of when I dealt with autoimmune things. Oh my. I've dealt with autoimmune things also. And I know for a fact that it added and it harmed me overall because I spent a lot of my youth trying to fit in, trying to be liked, trying to make myself small so I can be accepted. I spent a lot of time hiding what I value, allowing people to manipulate me out of my values, and allowing people to gaslight me out of my beliefs. So I understand, and I feel like that added to it because what it did was created a time and space where I was showing up in a way that was inauthentic. Basically, when you're in this space, you're showing up as a fake. You're fake because the reason why you're fake is because you keep betraying yourself. You're doing things that is not in alignment with what you truly want to do. You're just aligning, saying yes when you mean no, doing things that that's not helpful to you overall, and you're breaking promises along the way. My body was attacking itself because I was going against myself. Yes. How to set realistic goals to feel productive. Okay. Start small. I think that even these conversations that we have about betrayal or any of the self mastery topics that we have talked about, you have to start small. Start small by keeping your promises to yourself. One of the things I love when it comes to like writing goals, or creating goals, I like to get it in front of a piece of paper and write down my goals. One of the things that's the reason why you have to develop self awareness, and that's what will help with self mastery. Because when you develop self awareness, then you can figure out where you have areas of opportunity to grow, and then it becomes easier to set your goals. You're gonna need a pen and a piece of paper, and then you're gonna have to, instead of hiding behind the excuses that you have allowed yourself to hide behind, which is another self betrayal, because you're hiding from reality. You're going to get that piece of paper and you can get that pen, and you're going to look at the things that you can notice that you need to work on and write that goal down. Make it small. Like start out small. I never want women to go and try to do everything all at once because it's very overwhelming and then kind of throw you off your path for, achieving what you're trying to achieve. So I would say start small. It could be something small, like I'm going to get up every single morning and I am going to wear makeup. Or I'm going to get up every morning and I'm going to clean up my bathroom. I don't care. Whatever the goal is, set it small and don't go over two goals in the very beginning. Set only two goals and then build your way up uh, in setting more goals. Start with those two little goals that you have in front of you. Make sure that they're small, and then I want you to get up and do them because that's what it takes. In order to set goals, you have to be willing to follow through. You have to be willing to do. So whatever it is, those two little goals that you set every single day, whatever it is, you're working towards that goal, and you're keeping track of you working towards that goal. That's the reason I love notebooks. I always have notebooks all over the house while I'm writing things down. It helps keep me on track. It helps for me to express myself. It gives me a safe space to grow in that little notebook. And so that's what you have to do. One thing about being productive and setting goals is to set the goals and then follow through. This will help you to with your self betrayal, especially if you're one of those people who every time you set a goal, you never follow through. You're required to follow through. You're required to follow through on your goals and do it every single day. And if I were you, I would, like I said, I wouldn't go too hard or too many goals in the very beginning. I would build slowly because building slowly helps create routine. One of the things I have is routine that's working for me. Remember, I talk about routines all the time and how it's important to discipline yourself because you discipline yourself and you have a routine and you can go and just do that every single day. Maybe one of the goals is just for you to write in your journal every single day. That's a small goal, but you will feel more accomplished when you complete it. So you do that and you set time for it and you do it every single day. That's the reason why you set that routine. It'll help you accomplish your goal. It'll help you be productive. Absolutely. I love those tips, Tiana. But it's important that you stop the self betrayal. The self betrayal has so many consequences, and the effect of the self betrayal is harming your self esteem, your self concept, your self esteem, self concept, and self confidence, and the way that you see yourself. So it's important that we look at how we're betraying ourselves. If you're portraying yourself, even at something that you consider to be small, that small thing makes a molehill and it continues to affect you overall. Attending your videos is part of my routine. Thank you for this community. You're welcome. I appreciate you ladies for being here all the way to the end. Take the time to like the video, and once the video posts, go ahead and comment and reply. I always reply back to you all. We're still on our series. This is the seventh video in the power of self mastery. We're going to be on number 8 coming up here, maybe the next couple of days. And I think the series, I can't even tell you how many are going to be in the series. Why I can't tell you because I'm doing them as they come. I'm just organizing them and trying to structure them so that they make sense. That is what I'm doing. So I can't say how many videos will be in the series. So while they're up, enjoy them. They're going to be in the playlist marked The Power of Self Mastery if you want to go back and watch all of the videos. So I will see you all on the next one. You all have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye.